up guys, Ali here, and welcome to the channel. Now before I get started, make sure to add me on IG at Ali Talks Music, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. In the early 90s, a couple of years after Biggie's death, Guerilla Black released his first mixtape, appropriately titled Notorious Black. The project did not perform very well, creating a lot of doubt in the mind of the upcoming rapper. Like a lot of musicians that came out in the 90s, Guerilla Black took an interest in music from a very young age, using his ability to play various instruments as a stepping stone that ignited his decision to start rapping. My mother, I remember her playing the organ, playing the piano, directing the choir rehearsals, stuff like that. My stepfather used to have so many old records: Nat King Cole, Bobby Womack, OJ's, Harold Melvin, and the Blue Notes. So many different records. And at the time, hip-hop was really coming into a big force. So he also had LL Cool J, DMC, all of these people as well. So with that coming about, I started playing trumpet and trombone. I knew how to play all of these instruments I was taught in school. Then I wanted to be a DJ, had turntables and stuff like that. I think I was maybe 14 or 15 when I decided to start rapping. So I started freestyling and felt that I was pretty good at it. That's when I decided I really want to do this. Evidently, making music was something Guerilla Black was destined to do. He loved it, and with persistence, he knew that one day he would be in the public eye. When Guerilla Black came out, he did his thing, sold a couple of records. However, as of late, Guerilla Black is not as relevant as he once was. So the question is, what happened to Guerilla Black?
Man, what's good, man? It's a blessing, man. I'm out here with my boy Mahad, and it's real in the field with Mahad. For all of y'all who don't know, it's a real motherfucker right now. I took him, you know what I'm saying, one of the most notorious blocks in Compton out here. We in the Palmer blocks right now. You know what I'm saying, the real herb of the herbs. A lot of these people been around me, man, for the last, since I was young. So, you know what I'm saying, I've been around the same shit all my life. You know what I'm saying, I know a lot of different things. And this.
Now around the mid-2000s, Guerilla Black was finally in a position to make himself a household name, releasing his debut album called Guerilla City.
Strictly business, just like EPMD. I'm BLACK from the CBT.
Guerilla City is a collection of eclectic songs that's on a universal level. We're coming from the West Coast. There has really been no music heard from the West Coast in the last 7 or 8 years. The rest of the music genre had been growing way beyond where it was at. So I wanted to add people like Mario Winans, Jazzy Faye, Beanie Man, Nate Dogg, to be able to make music for the Midwest, as well as the South, as well as the East Coast and the West Coast. Now as far as the album goes, I personally think Guerilla City is a pretty decent album. When it came out, I personally paid a lot of money for that album. At least it felt like a lot of money back then. So I made sure to enjoy every single track on this album. Hearts of Fire is a dope joint. Guerilla City, What We Gonna Do featuring Nate Dogg is one of my favorites. I like Compton, but it's a bit played out now. I've heard it too much. And the same goes for You're the One. Overall, I'd give this album a 7 out of 10 because in my opinion, it has a lot of replay value. In all honesty, Guerilla Black's album did not do very well, peaking at number 28 on the Billboard 200 and selling only 46,000 copies in the first week. Now back in those days, albums that did numbers like that were considered a flop. This was the beginning of the end for Guerilla Black. Now around 2007, Guerilla Black released his second and final album titled God Bless the Child.
Thank you. I ain't said it in a while. And you telling me I'm still your child.
The album debuted at number 1,000 on the Billboard 200, selling about 10 copies in the first week. I'm just joking. All jokes aside, the album was a massive flop. Now from my understanding, this album was released independently. Guerilla Black asked to be released from his previous contract because management at the label wasn't aligned with his goals, forcing him to release an album on a lesser scale. However, it still didn't do numbers. But why is this the case? From my perspective, one of the main reasons I was drawn to Guerilla Black's music is because he sounded exactly like Biggie. When Compton dropped, I assumed Diddy had some Biggie verses in storage, resulting in the creation of the track. However, when I learned that Guerilla Black was not Biggie, I was like, what? Okay! The novelty started to wear off. As a result, when Guerilla Black dropped his second album, there was no more novelty. I, like a lot of people, knew what to expect from a Guerilla Black project. A meager attempt to impersonate Biggie, and that's probably why I didn't give it a chance at the time. Also, the album was not promoted well, with a lot of people discovering the album years after it got released. To be fair, God Bless the Child is a deviation from the more commercial-friendly sound on Guerilla City. It's more rugged and dark, with Guerilla Black ditching most of the well-known producers on his first album for lesser-known producers, which is a mistake in my opinion. Additionally, when his first album came out, it had big name features like Beanie Man and Mario Winans. The second album pales in comparison, introducing no-name artists like Janet, Vice, Chris Jones, and Hot Dollar. Seriously, who came up with these features? Now, I personally prefer albums with less features because it gives the musician more time to shine, making them more relatable to their target audience. Features are not essential, but if we analyze their use in the music industry, one can almost compare them to cheat codes, allowing musicians to expand their brand at a faster rate, which is why the game releases a lot of compilation albums. Overall, Guerilla Black's second album was less commercial and somewhat predictable. It was not promoted well either, resulting in Guerilla Black's disappearance from the limelight. Around 2009, Guerilla Black released a mixtape called Black Tapes Volume 1.
Go get us, go get us, go. We money get us, we money get us.
He appeared to be using a new flow and tried to distance himself from the Biggie comparisons, but by this time, the jig was up. Nobody was checking for Guerilla Black. In my opinion, sounding like Biggie is Guerilla Black's biggest flaw, because in real life, nobody really likes a copycat unless they somehow find a way to tweak the formula and improve on something that's already working, like turning a tricycle into a bicycle perhaps. Now if you think about it, Guerilla Black was like Designer of the 2000s. As we all know, Designer copied Future's flow verbatim. He sounds exactly like Future and made a ton of money in the process when he released tracks sounding like Future. Guerilla Black did the exact same thing, but he did it in an almost distasteful way because Biggie was not alive to comment on the matter. So the question is, if Guerilla Black didn't use Biggie's voice and flow to build a career, would we even know who he is today? Probably not. I've been getting the comparisons forever. Before, my brother had come out here while my wife was still alive, and the guy that I hooked up with through Ice-T, we were working on an independent venture. Back then, they used to call me Sizzle. I remember whenever I had rapped, they were like, wow, you really sound like the notorious b.i.g. And I don't think we'll be able to pull that off. I was screaming on records, and I tried to avoid sounding like Biggie. A lot of people may have compared me to Mystical at that time. That was not the case. I was just trying to not sound so much like Big, because I knew the hate, controversy, and criticism would come like it is today. At the end of the day, I want people to know that I was Guerilla Black, and that I was Guerilla Black to myself. I'm not trying to falsify, reduplicate, reiterate, be someone I'm not. None of that. I'm Guerilla Black. Now in 2009, a movie that focused on the life and death of Biggie dropped called Notorious. The film was a major success, making a total of $40 million on a $20 million budget. Before the movie came out, a lot of people were interested in playing Biggie, and not surprisingly, Guerilla Black was one of them. Initially, I assumed Guerilla Black would have been perfect for the role. He had the look, voice, and had already spent most of his musical career acting like Biggie, so this should have been a no-brainer. But then I got to thinking about it and realized that just because Guerilla Black played Big in real life does not mean he would be able to pull the character off, because people might just see Guerilla Black playing Biggie, which might prevent them from being sold by the narrative. Now, like a lot of rappers that came out in the late 90s, 2000s, Guerilla Black got involved in a minor beef with the game, resulting in a few jabs taken here and there. According to the game, Guerilla Black was disrespecting Big's legacy by impersonating him. Everybody in the middle loves Big, so I thought he was wrong for that.
I'm saying he's a talented lyricist. I don't know if that's because he sounds like Big or because his whole persona is Big's persona, but niggas don't feel in that. I knew from day one that shit wasn't gonna fly in NY. I knew it wasn't gonna fly in LA. Niggas in LA love Big. Niggas in NY love Big. Everybody in the middle loves Big. You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So I thought he was wrong.
To add insult to injury, Game claimed that Guerilla Black was not from Compton and was merely fabricating his street credibility to appeal to the urban market.
Guerilla Black ain't from Compton, man.
For real?
Man, but I know for a fact that he ain't from Compton because I've been there for 25 years.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Compton ain't that big, my nigga. I know everybody in Compton, and when you from Compton, you cannot, like, there's no instance where I was like, how come no school teachers don't know you? No liquor store owners, no crackheads, no kids on tricycles, no ice cream mans, no police. You know what I'm saying? I'm from Compton. So that's a dead issue too.
Don't see Guerilla Black in Compton.
I mean, you might now, you know what I'm saying? No.
Now, according to Guerilla Black himself, he was born in Chicago but was raised in Compton. Well, I was born in Joliet, just outside Chicago, but wound up coming to Los Angeles. When I first made the move to LA, I was living in a shelter, and then I ended up in Compton, where I was definitely wilding out there. A lot of ups and downs, you know? And throughout that, I was pursuing my career and trying to get my name out there and get heard. Now, in my opinion, once a person lives and was raised in a certain area all of their life, then they will most likely adopt the values and morals of that area. This reminds me of 21 Savage, a guy born in the UK but raised in Atlanta, who still acts and sounds like he could have been born in Atlanta. Guerilla Black is similar, but clearly the game does not feel this way. In fact, on the game's debut album, he rapped the following: I take all the credit for putting the West back on the map. You ain't feeling that? Guess I'm Guerilla Black. Clearly, Game had an issue with Guerilla Black. Now, when questioned about his position on the game's comments, Guerilla Black denied the existence of a beef between the artists, saying that the pair had no issues. Game is doing Game and Guerilla is doing Guerilla. No friction whatsoever. Game is doing Game and Guerilla is doing Guerilla. Fortunately for hip-hop, Guerilla Black was all cap and took issue with the Game's statements, firing back on a diss track titled 400 Shots. The funeral.
Somebody call Act Right, the dollar figure butcher. Cut him up in the tub, leave his foot in the kitchen. Just for a reminder, when I find you, they find your face up, eyes open and mindless.
Now, the song was pretty dope. It had a lot of bars, I think, but it was definitely not career-ending for the Game. 400 Shots is also a diss track directed at Jermaine Dupri and Dillinger. According to Guerilla Black, Daz took issue with him after a track that they did together got released without Daz being paid. Daz was so angered by Guerilla Black that he once mentioned ending the man's life. As for Jermaine Dupri, Guerilla Black took issue with him because Jermaine Dupri did not agree with his vision, putting multiple obstacles in the way of Guerilla Black's second album. Now, around 2004, Guerilla Black attended an interview with rapreviews.com and was asked where he saw himself in 5 years. He responded by saying, being a real estate cat, owning a lot or property, chilling with my child, a wife, my shirt off, throwing the football somewhere, chilling out drinking iced tea or something. Now, you know the saying, when you make a plan, God laughs. Well, despite not achieving his goals in his time frame, things took a turn for the worse for Guerilla Black around 2013 when he got arrested and pleaded guilty to theft and fraud charges, forcing him to spend 9 years in prison. It appears Guerilla Black was involved in stealing over 27,000 credit card numbers from a Maryland hacker. I don't know about you guys, but it's always sad to see someone who once had it all fall from grace. Even though Guerilla Black sounded like Biggie, he had a couple of hits. However, clearly the hits he made back in the day were not enough to keep him from committing a crime. Overall, Guerilla Black's career was short-lived. People initially gravitated towards Guerilla Black because he sounded like Biggie, but by the time Guerilla Black dropped his second album, the novelty was no longer there. Guerilla Black tried his hardest to resuscitate his dying career, but the people simply were not having it because the simple truth is, nobody likes a clone. Designer is a perfect example of this. After his music career did not pan out, Guerilla Black resorted to committing a crime, one that ruined his chances of ever making a career comeback. I'm sure he regrets this decision because he's still paying for it dearly to this day. Apart from the recent interviews on Vlad TV, Guerilla Black has lost all relevance, and sadly, it seems like he will not reclaim any of his former glory. Guerilla Black gets about 200,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, and his most popular songs on the platform are Compton, You're the One, Sunrise, and Hearts of Fire.
You know, I can't help who I am. You know, as you've been with me for the last few days and just sitting down chilling with me, I can't help. God meant me to be a 6'2", real dark brother with a heavy ass voice. I can't change that. For me to say that I want to be something different, that would be saying that I regret my mama having me. So I praise God that, you know, God made me who I am. And if I sort of resemble or look or whatever to one of the greatest rappers in the game, I feel it is more than a compliment.
That's it for me. It's your boy Ali. What happened to Guerilla Black in your opinion? Let me know down below. If you have a video request, be sure to let me know as well. Also add me on Instagram at Ali Talks Music. You can also request videos there and so on. New What Happened To video dropping next week. Till next time.